So recently on Amazon I purchased the Easy Flash Omega. This is a flash cart for the Game Boy Advance and it's one of the best options out there. So today I'm going to go through the features of this, what I think of it and whether it's worth it for you to purchase. There were some shipping delays and as you can see the box is fairly damaged, so maybe don't use the exact same seller as me. Because of that I'm not going to link them down below. You can find this on Amazon though. This was in the UK that I had them. They were about £35. I purchased the one that said it was going to be orange. It was not orange, so don't use my purchaser, but still you can buy this online. First of all, let's have a look at what we actually get in the box. So the box is fairly simple on the outside. There's not really much to say about it. It's got the logo on the front. It's got a micro SD logo, which shows that this is compatible with micro SD cards. I believe it's up to 128 gigabytes. I used a 32 gigabyte card because that fits basically all the games that you may need. And it's definitely good enough, and I don't think you could fit almost the entire Game Boy Advance library on that. The back just shows it comes with two shell cases, which I'll show you in a moment. You get the normal case, which is currently attached to it. This allows it to fit in a Game Boy Advance, or there is also this alternate shell. The actual cart is small enough to fit into a Nintendo DS or Nintendo DS Lite without sticking out at all. So this is really good if you want to make a Game Boy Macro or if you want to use it in your DS. The build quality is okay. It certainly feels worse than a regular Game Boy Advance cart, but it's not a real cart, so what really can you expect? It's got this nice slot on the side for a micro SD card. These are fairly cheap. I picked up a 32 gigabyte card for around £5 on Amazon. So the features of the flash card are as follows. You don't need a client. You can just copy any ROMs straight onto the card and they will work, whether or not you've ripped them from your collection or got them from more nefarious sources. Yet you can patch the game. This comes with software updates, firmware updates, which is the first thing you need to do when you install it. So this thing is still supported today. It also features hardware-based direct save to SD card, so even if your battery dies, you're not going to lose your saves. Cheats, save state, time clock, a sleep mode, which is particularly useful if you just need to stop right now, and obviously not many games had that feature on the Game Boy. Customizable hotkeys, and then the actual tech specs of the cart itself are 256 megabytes PS RAM, which supports all games with instant load. 512 megabyte NOR flash memory, which can keep your favorite games ready. It can play Game Boy and Game Boy Color and NES games, although it is emulating those using Goomba, so it's not playing them natively, because you can't actually do that with the Game Boy Advance card. There's two separate hardware modes for the Game Boy, so you'd need to use a Game Boy Color or Game Boy Flash card in order to play those natively. It's got system level chip recovery mode, so if you do manage to brick it during your firmware update, you should be able to recover it. And yeah, the firmware and kernel are all upgradable. To get started with the card, the first thing you have to do is visit the Easy Flash website and download 3 different files. One is a thumbnail pack for your library, one's your game library, one is a cheat library, and the other is a kernel update. Once you've got these into the root folder of your SD card, you should have 2 folders. One's named images, one's named cheat, and then also a easy kernel.bin file, which will do your firmware update. Then you need to update the kernel on your cart. So all you do is put that into your console, turn it on and hold R as it's booting. You should then see a screen which shows it's updating the kernel. Don't turn off during this process because you could end up bricking your cart. You can recover that, but you don't want the hassle of doing so, really. After that, all you have to do is you can turn it off, take out your SD card, put that in your computer and drag across your ROMs. I did find a weird issue here when I was dragging my ROMs, which was that if I unzipped a ROM directly onto the SD card, then for some reason it just didn't show up at all on my Easy Flash cart. However, if I then copied them back to the PC and then copied them back across to the cart, they showed up fine. So you may have to do that, just be aware. But other than that, it was a very easy process. I found that solution by Googling it straight away. It seems to be an issue that other people have, but I managed to fix it. So nothing really against it there. So let's have a look at the actual cart itself and some of the features of it. Let's try this out on my modded Game Boy and have a look at some of the features. I've already gone through the steps of setting this up, and here we go. If you want to see a video of how to mod this, look at one of my last upload on the channel. Okay, so we've got our folders here and we've got some of our ROMs here. So if I tap L and R is how we go through the menus. So this is the settings menu. This tells you about this is where the manual is, how you do multi-boot. It's L plus A, thumbnail toggle, open recently played, and L plus start deletes a file. So if I look down here, in order to use the additional features, you have to start the game with add-ons, which you'll see in a minute. But first of all, you have to set each of these on, so cheat, sleep, reset, save state. You have to activate those, so go into the settings here and do that. You can change your language, you've got a fastpack engine, and you can modify the keys. So LR and select is sleep, LR and start is menu. So let's go ahead and open up a game. What should we do here? Let's try Sonic Advance. So if we go here, you can see you get, I've just pushed A and you get a number of different options. So you can boot with add-on, which allows you different stuff. Clean boot just treats it like a normal game, or you can write to other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot with add-on. You see that function? So let's choose English. My name is A, B, C. Okay. So here we go, we've got this. If I do LR and start, I get a menu here where I can save state or load a save state or reset it. Push B just to exit that, or LR and select, and now it's asleep. So my console's still on, but my screen's off. So if you just quickly need to do that, so to get out of sleep mode, you just press start and select, and there you go. It's out of sleep mode. And you can continue playing your game. So there you go, that's a few of the features of this. Okay, so then there you have the card, and now let's talk about some of the quirks of this particular card. One thing that I mentioned earlier is that it saves directly to SD card. Now this is different to how the original Game Boy carts work, because obviously they don't have that sort of memory included in them. Therefore, it does create a slight issue in that if you save a game, it's actually going to take longer to save than it would in the original game. So you have to wait a few seconds, as a rule, maybe 5 seconds, after the game says you have saved to actually have saved. So just make sure you don't turn off straight away after saving, because that can really cause some issues with the cart. The benefits of this kind of cart are pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to keep your entire game library with you. If you're going on holiday, you only have to take this and you have access to all of your games. On top of that, it allows things like save states and sleep mode, which just aren't available normally in games. And it even allows you to play hacked ROMs, which is something that you obviously can't do with a real cart, or even these new Game Boy games which are still being developed by indie developers these days, which you can then play on your Game Boy. Also, it's the only way to play NES games on a Game Boy that I'm aware of, so that's kind of cool. If you've got any of your favourite NES games, you can also play them on here. So what are some of the drawbacks of this cart? There's a few key ones for me. One being power drain. This will make your batteries last around 30% less than usual, or that's what I found from my testing. Also, on my modded Game Boy, I have found that because this cart draws more power, and also it's modded with an IPS screen, sometimes I'm getting a red LED flashing even though my batteries I know are at almost full charge, which implies that there's voltage drops. That's because the screen is consuming more power than it would normally, and so is the cart. It'll also reduce the battery life on something like your Game Boy Micro or whatever you're planning to use it with. Additionally, another kind of drawback is whilst it lets you play Game Boy Color games, compared to actually using a legitimate cart, it is emulating, so you won't quite get that native experience. So if you are looking for that, there is a Easy Flash Junior, I believe it's called, which is the Game Boy Color version of this, which you could pick up as well. So if you're interested in that and you want to see a review on it, let me know down below, and I will do one as soon as I can. I'll order one of those. Another drawback, at least for me, is the price. This thing is £35. I understand why, because you've got to put money into developing this, but that is quite a lot of money for something that doesn't actually come with any games, and kind of forces you to either purchase hardware in order to rip your own game library to this, which is the legal thing, or in order to, it kind of encourages you to break the law and download other ROMs. Which I understand, but to be honest, £35 is okay for what this is. It does everything I want it to do. It allows me to carry around my library with me. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and please like and subscribe. Next week we've got something really cool. We're going to be looking at more retro tech, but a little bit different. We're going to look at one of the original WoW server blades, which I've managed to get my hand on. Thank you very much for watching.